Fix. We're happy to have you on, Chad. I'll let you do your intro, but we are thrilled to have somebody on here that's still teaching in the middle school, I believe, right?
Yeah, middle school and high school level.
Great. So just I guess chat a little bit about yourself, about what your sort of ideology is. I know you have a wonderful, amazing book coming out soon, so you could talk to that a little bit. And we're looking forward to have a conversation about what you do, what you're about, and your thoughts on education and what we sort of need to do to get it right.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I've been teaching now for 18 years, mostly middle school science. I kind of got my start in a little bitty small town, the actual small town that I grew up in, and that kind of plays a part in the book that I wrote. But started a small town middle school science teacher, and then I'm still in a small town. Like you said earlier, you can probably pick up on a little bit of Southern Indiana in the accent here, but I'm south of Terre Haute, Indiana, an hour and a half out of the capital city of Indianapolis. Been teaching for 18 years, and now I'm in the middle school teaching some STEM classes, and in the high school teaching some CTE courses like robotics and manufacturing. So, I stepped out of the science a few years ago. I got an opportunity to write some STEM curriculum for the state of Indiana. And that was kind of my first big step out of my comfort zone. Once I started doing that, and it just kind of led from one thing to another. Opportunities came about. I've been from that first step that I took there. I've been able to go teach in China, STEM in China. I've also led STEM teams and STEAM teams in China, organizing teachers to go and teach in middle school and elementary levels in China, and spoke to the Chinese Department of Education about the importance of kind of a growth mindset, and which is very foreign to them. So I've delivered that message to them, and taught in an online private school, STEM coordinator for an online private school for a while. Just a whole lot of opportunities have come from that very first step of stepping outside of my comfort zone and taking some chances, and realizing that there are a whole lot of great things to get into out there if you only open yourself up to them.
Wonderful. And the name of the book is Discomfort, yes?
Yeah, it's Discomfort by Design. I'm a huge, I guess, a huge believer in design thinking and design learning. And I just see so many relationships to our everyday life, and how if we would teach students to identify their issues and to work within their parameters, and to locate some good information through some research and do their designs and test some ideas and stuff. I just don't see any discipline walls to that. I think that can apply across disciplines, and I think it can make students, better citizens of this world for all the problems they'll face. I preach that in pretty much every presentation that I get the opportunity to have, and that's the Discomfort by Design is the name of the book, because I just think that design thinking just applies to so many aspects of our lives, inside and outside of the classroom.
So, Chad, I'm gonna press you on that a little bit.
Okay.
For those who don't, and this is coming from our group here. Design thinking is one of the pillars of the collective mindset, and showing that to administrators, especially at the highest level, so that it does trickle down. But really brief, what is design thinking, and why is it such an important sort of pillar in your mindset as far as what education is about?
Okay, I'm going to give this to you from an absolute novice point of view, who has used it over and over and spoke on it over and over. To me, it is just it's problem solving and critical thinking at its most stripped down form. I mean, for me, it's like I said, it's the identification of issues, no matter what we're in the classroom or outside of the classroom. It's using other people's attempts at solving similar issues, looking at what other people have done to solve issues and learning from others, working within your parameters, and then coming up with ideas that fit all three of those, the knowledge of the issue and other people's ideas and their parameters, and coming up with solutions that are all possible, right? They're all possible solutions to your challenge that you face. And then testing them. And I mean, having the courage and the confidence, I guess, to test your ideas, and then being vulnerable to the results of them, and knowing how to analyze the results that come in, and then communicating. The skills that come from all of this are just priceless. They're not the skills that unfortunately get assessed on all of these thousands of state assessments that the kids face every year, but they're the skills that are going to apply to their real life, and they're the ones that all of us use, sometimes without even knowing, on a day-to-day basis as we face these challenges of life.
And I think the why is embedded in that response right there. So really, really well embedded in that response.
And that's what the book basically deals with the idea that I see so many students nowadays wanting to take that easy way out and get that quick answer. And that's I've relied on Google 7 million times in my life, and I'll rely on it 7 million more. But there are going to be times, and that's what the book really speaks to, my own personal discomfort that technology can't solve. And the skills that are fostered through design thinking and design learning will serve you well when those problems do come about. And it's really a first person point of view of facing challenges in this world, and lacking some of the skills truly because I stayed in my comfort zone so long that I did not develop those skills. So it's not coming from the point of view of, hey, I knew everything and I had all of these skills. It's really coming from the viewpoint of, I realized as I was facing challenges in my life that I didn't have some of these that would have been fostered and would have been promoted through a better educational system that valued those skills and that valued that design thinking.
Well said. Rich, Anthony?
Yeah, a couple of things if I could jump in. I'm hearing inquiry skills very much.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Right. So that's really okay. So I don't want to synonymize them necessarily together, but certainly the steps that you talk about, and when we talked about your dissertation design and the critical thinking premises, obviously you can see how they weave together.
Yes.
I'm going to recommend a book to you if you haven't already read it or familiar with it. It's called Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman.
Okay.
You can find it most any place. And he, in 600 or 700 pages, said what you just said, more simply, but just as aptly, when he basically said that people are much more prefer, students and adults, much more prefer to think on level one, which is quick, simple, get the Google answer, 2 + 2 is 4, and okay, next, rather than to peel back something to get to the nub of an issue and to play with it, along the lines of what you said. Yeah, where does that, I think I know where it is, but do you see a role for creative thinking under the umbrella of critical thinking? Or do you see them separate, or do you see some kind of adjunct between the two?
Well, I think whenever I deal with the design process with students, and for my own, I guess, personal use, creativity kind of goes into the idea that everybody can solve challenges and everybody has the ability to face these challenges, but it's those who use the same resources that everybody has available to them. It's those who use those the best and in a creative way that are going to be the ones who set themselves apart from everybody else. On day-to-day kind of problem solving, creativity definitely comes into the picture. But if we're looking at these monumental challenges that face the world, it's going to take a creative thinker, because we're all looking with the same resources here. at these challenges. We're all, you know, we all face the same parameters in terms of time and money, in terms of resources and stuff. Somebody who can think about those same things in a different way, in an innovative
Exactly.
way, are going to be the ones who take us closer to the answers to these challenges. And I've said 1,000 times in class, guys, that's not, you know, I'm not so much associated or going to reward the product of what we do in class, because, you know, me giving you styrofoam cups and craft sticks and stuff, nobody's going to value that in and of itself someday. But the creative thought process that goes into that is the same kind of thought process that those who solve these major world problems are going to have. It's not the product I'm worried about here. It's the process that goes into it, and that creativity is so vital to coming up with those challenges or coming up with those solutions.
It's the process over the content for sure, over the product. I know I stole the saying, and then I'll be quiet. I stole the saying. I don't know where I got it from, but I like it. It's possible that somebody's looking through a microscope right now at the cure for cancer, but isn't seeing it because they're not thinking creatively.
Yeah, no, it's just in the way that we all see the same things. We all have the same things in front of us. Somebody's going to look at it different. You're right. You're right. I like that.
Anthony?
I applaud you, Chad, because I think the word discomfort is a great word.
Yeah.
And it works on so many levels. You know, as I was listening to you speak, you know, discomfort that children should feel to increase and improve student engagement.
Yeah.
To have learning and teaching that centers more on the children and having them even so much deciding on what they want to learn and how they want to learn. And then it works at the, you know, the level of the teacher. You know, it's uncomfortable. There's a discomfort when a teacher has to look themselves in a mirror and say, am I doing everything I should be doing in the classroom? Can I be working harder? Can I develop my own skills more? Are they even working? Or even just taking the time out to be reflective to the point where you're assessing your efficacy in the classroom. But the one that interests me the most is the discomfort on the level of leadership.
Yeah.
Because that's where it begins. That's where it has to be facilitated. And the one thing that's always plagued me, having been in this profession for so long, is that what separates some leaders from others. And as you were talking before, I realized what separates them is that willingness to embrace discomfort.
Yeah.
If you don't embrace that discomfort, nothing's going to change.
No.
You know, Edgar Schein once said, I had a great quote that I used to share with my students, that, you know, the difference between an educational leader and an educational administrator was administrators live within the culture and then leaders change the culture.
Yeah.
And, you know, going back to even our own work that Al and Rich and, you know, and I do, changing culture is discomfort.
That's tough. That's very tough.
Discomfort.
Yeah, it is. I used to think that the wisdom and stuff and the ability to admit vulnerability came with age. But I was well into my teaching career and still wanting to stay within those comfort zones because I'd never stepped out. I wasn't doing everything right, but I definitely wasn't taking any chances to allow myself to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that willingness to be uncomfortable comes from growing from failing at something, you know, from falling short. You know, whenever you don't ever step out of your comfort zone and you don't really have any failures, you don't really have any setbacks. Some people view that as a success, and I've come to realize that all that's doing is never giving yourself the opportunity to grow.
Right.
You have to be vulnerable. You have to start taking some chances and be willing to put yourself out there, whether it be through your own methods or stepping out to, you know, to even ask down the hall, you know, for ideas from other people. You don't have all of the answers. You know, we all need to realize that other people out there are doing things better than we are and in a more effective way than we are, and we can learn from them.
Even I've often said, I teach teachers a lot. I've taught countless teachers in my life in educational technology and leadership. And one of the things I drive home to them all the time is it's okay to try and it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
And even ask your kids, your students, hey, did this work for you? If not, how does this work? How do I adjust? I think people don't like to have that discomfort feeling because there's a fear, right? There's a fear of failure. There's a fear of what they'll feel like, what they'll look like. The realization for myself, and I think probably all of us in here, is we're going to fail, and failing's not so bad, right? It's not the end of the world.
But you don't realize that until you do it. You
That's
know,
exactly
take some
right.
experience.
It's like
I was the most perfect textbook teacher for my first 3 years. I knew everything in that textbook, and I knew every answer in that textbook. And the reason I did is because I wanted to come across as knowing everything. That's how I thought I was going to be a great leader, was by knowing everything, you know, but that's not the example that I needed to set for my kids. My kids needed to see somebody who was vulnerable. They needed to see somebody who was willing to take some risks. They didn't need to see somebody that knew every step of the Krebs cycle. You know, they needed somebody who was willing to take some risks, so I could show them the benefits of taking some risks and doing things different and innovative.
Right.
they don't learn by what you say, they learn by what you do, right? And that modeling piece is so key as an educator.
Yeah, and I talk about this book, and it excites me to talk about it because I do feel like there are so many people that are just going to read it and be like, wow, at some point that was me, you know, or this is me at this point. And just to show that, you know, that somebody who was as entrenched in the comfort zone as any one person has ever been in their life, that was me. And I still have a ton of growing yet to do and a ton of learning yet to do, but I've been around the world because of stepping outside of my comfort zone. And I just think once you start that, the growth that comes to you and the benefits that come to your school and your students are just phenomenal.
Well said. And the opportunities that it brings about, stepping out of your comfort zone, things that you may or may not have foreseen you being a part of, whether it's going to China or for me coming out to Colorado or whatever it is, right? We don't know what will come of it. And it's not for us to figure that out ahead of time either. And I think that's also what people try to do. They want to stay in their comfort zone. They want to know what's next. They want to know what's going to happen. They want to predict the outcome, especially teaching in the classroom. A lot of teachers feel that way. But the reality is, if you do step out, I love what you said. It does lead to so many different opportunities and personal growth. And that goes out into every aspect of your life too. So.
And it is human nature. I mean, it's human nature for us all to want to seek comfort. It's not, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I don't ever want to put somebody down for seeking it, because there is obvious comfort in it. But once you start stepping out, you do realize all of the opportunities and the doors that do open.
Rich, Anthony, closing thoughts, additional thoughts?
My closing thought is why I think, you know, like the whole concept of your book, and that translates into a lot of things that we do, the three of us do, and, you know, I've done in my career, although maybe I never quite called it so, but to promote discomfort.
Yeah.
And not only embrace it, but to promote it. And I don't know that as a profession in general that we do that.
No.
You know, I can think of far more people I know, colleagues that I've worked with, who would rather play the safe road. And you're right. And at the end of the line, they say, wow, I had a great career. Really didn't accomplish much, but they had a great career. And I don't know that our profession does that enough. And I think that's one of the things that even we promote, if you think about it, the three of us, we promote that discomfort. We want people to think, to be self-reflective, to examine their beliefs and their values and what drives their teaching and learning, because all too often they accept mediocrity.
Yeah, good enough, right?
Yeah,
good enough. Yeah,
in essence, we want it to be cool to be uncomfortable, right? And be trendy to be uncomfortable and easily.
I think one of the last lines of my book is something along the lines of, I've now become comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know,
Yeah,
you
that's wonderful.
Great.
take
Yeah.
chances and you get used to it. But that comes, you know, you guys, you set up a community here. You did with beginning with me, even is just saying, hey, this is nice and relaxed. And, you know, with our kids in our classes, we have to do the same thing. We have to take that judgment out of our classes and those, that fear of being ridiculed and judged by each other and by the teacher and by their peers and stuff. That setting up of a community of learners is a giant portion of accepting discomfort.
So Chad, just to be clear, we are going to give you a standard test after this. I give you a letter grade.
Okay, all right.
I mean, we may have sounded all like with it, but we
Yeah.
really, this is really about giving you a standardized test.
Sure. All right. Okay, I'll do my best.
First answer is
How many
true.
times do I get to take it?
Oh,
Just once, and
Just once, of course.
there's no room for growth or learning after
Okay, just one.
Okay. Rich, final thoughts, and then Chad, I'll let you have the last word.
Another tortured metaphor, and I don't even know where I got this one from either, but it reminds me of what Anthony was saying from two places, actually. First of all, I'm reading another book about dialogic organizational development, which is really what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're dialogue and exchanging and processing what each other is saying. And the question, one question I have for myself is along the lines of what Anthony just posited is, you know, how often and how many school cultures, leaders or school cultures as a whole with a W really encourage discomfort.
Yeah.
And it goes back to a phrase I started to say a moment ago, which is, you know, if you put a grain of sand in an oyster shell, it forms an ulcer, which is discomfort, I guess. And then we know that eventually the ulcer becomes a pearl. So if someone had to put the grain of sand there, you'd like to think that you wouldn't need yourself to put the grain of sand there, which I'm not sure we would do it, but it would be nice to know that everyone wants to put grains of sand in each other's oyster shells to encourage collective discomfort. Oh, I like that. I'm going to put that in.
Next
Best
book.
of luck to you. I'm very interested in reading your book.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
As am I.
So Chad, final thoughts from you, and yeah, thank you from all of us, but final thoughts from you?
No, thank you guys for having me on here. And you were right. The atmosphere and the culture was very relaxed, and it's great to hear support from such experts, interest from such experts. And also the idea whenever it first came out was I didn't even know if design thinking was going to be something that anybody was interested in learning. And that's why I tried so much at the beginning of the book to just relate it to everybody and just to let everybody know that no matter whether you're an engineer or not interested in any kind of scientific method at all, it applies to all of us. And no matter what career these students are going to pursue, what life lies before them, they're all going to face challenges that this specific type of mindset and abilities and skills can definitely help meet. So
if the book is anything like you and relatable and approachable and humble, I mean, I can't wait to read it. And
well, thank you so much. It is it's a confident humbleness, I guess you'd say, because I'm confident in the material, but every bit of it has humbled me at some point. So,
well, you can be confident and humble at the same time.
Yes.
They're not one and the same. I'm an advocate of that as well. Chad, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
And
Thank you.
we'd love to have you on again. Maybe when is the book dropping? Is it
Supposed to be beginning of December, I think. I asked for a holiday release, so I'm hoping that's.
Well, that would be wonderful. We'll be rooting for that, and maybe we'll have you on sometime in December after it drops, and we could have more of a conversation around this, more conversation around the book.
Yeah,
I think it'd be wonderful. All right.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Great. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you guys.